Chapter 18. Victory. The people marveled at this foolish young priest, who was attempting to shoot the eye of the revolving fish. So many of the members of the Kshatriyas, the warrior class, had attempted the feat, and all had failed. The one person who could possibly have succeeded was Karna, and he had been rebuked by Draupadi, since he was of Shudra, the laborer class. Now a priest, a member of the Brahmin class, was attempting a task that required great skill with a weapon of war. It was preposterous. The young man strung the bow with ease, and handled the weapon with a familiarity that contradicted his peaceful appearance. He looked at the moving target in the reflective pool, and took aim. He held his breath, and released the arrow. The arrow flew through the air, and found the eye of the golden fish dead on target. The crowd went silent. The kings, princes, and the rest of the Kshatriya class of warriors were shocked. They could not believe what they saw. Then the silent disbelief turned to scowls of anger. This is a trick. Draupadi has brought us here to make fools of us. There is no way a Brahmin boy could exceed us in the use of a weapon of war. The crowd of Kshatriyas was turning into a mob. Kill Draupadi! Burn his daughter! Shouted one. A crowd of Kshatriyas stormed towards the royal family, weapons in hand. Arjun loaded the bow, and with ease dispatched the approaching mob. Karna watched the happenings with interest. He too believed the Brahman's victory was a trick, or a simple matter of luck. He released a volley of arrows at the young Brahmin, but Arjun, in the disguise of the Brahmin, easily countered all of Karna's attacks. Then he released his own attack on Karna. Karna deflected the attack, but just barely, and it required all of his great skill to not be killed by the young man. Karna was shocked. Never had he witnessed such great archery skills, and from a Brahmin? With a tone of wonder and admiration, Karna asked, "Who are you, young Brahmin? Are you Lord Vishnu or Indra in human disguise? I have fought no other warrior with your level of skill." Arjun, with a disguised voice, shouted out, "My guru has taught me all there is to know in the weapons of war. You are no match for me, Karna. Beware." And Karna, for the first time in any of his battles, felt fear. Other Kshatriyas, such as the incredibly strong Shalya, joined in the attack, but he was easily taken out by beam. Arjun's other brothers also joined in the defense, supported by Brahmins in the crowd with them. Much of the audience left the stadium to avoid injury, but almost all remained bewildered as to who these mysterious Brahmins might be. However, the true identity of the 5 Brahmins could not be hidden from one in the stadium. In this form, he was the nephew of Kunti and cousin to the Pandava brothers. He of the Yadava clan, Lord Krishna. Chapter 19. The 5 Husbands. Once the crowd had settled down, Draupadi completed the Swayamvara by garlanding the winner and accepting the Brahmin as a husband. The outcome had puzzled King Draupadi. A Brahmin who was able to succeed in such a difficult archery competition was most unusual. Draupadi instructed his son Dristadumna to investigate the matter further. The Brahmins left the stadium with Draupadi and set off to their rented home in Panchala. Before entering the home, Arjun playfully called out, "Mother, look what I have brought home." Kunti, who was deep in prayer, replied, "Whatever it might be, make sure to share equally with your brothers." When Kunti turned and saw Draupadi, she realized her mistake and was horrified. She had thought Arjun had returned with food for their dinner. Now they were in a quandary. To fulfill dharma, right action, a mother's words must be adhered to. Kunti turned to Yudhishthir the Just to get guidance on the situation. But before he could answer, Draupadi spoke out. "Mother, do not be concerned. This situation was preordained. Sometime after my firebirth, sage Vyasa visited and provided more insight into my past. In my previous life, I performed great penance to obtain a wish from Lord Shiva. I asked for a husband who would be a symbol of Dharma, justice. He should be as strong as Lord Hanuman. He should be as skilled in archery as Lord Parashurama. He should be as intelligent as Lord Brihaspati. And he should be the most handsome man on earth. Lord Shiva replied that such qualities were not possible to be contained in a single mortal. This would upset the natural balance of nature. Nevertheless, I repeated my desire to Lord Shiva 5 times, and finally he acquiesced. I see now how the Lord has granted my wish. Just then, a knock at the door interrupted them. It was Lord Krishna and his brother Balarama. Lord Krishna had recognized the Pandavas at the Swayamvara and came to pay his respects to his aunt Kunti and his cousins. The family was overjoyed to see them, and Kunti related all that had happened to her nephew. Lord Krishna advised that the marriage of Draupadi was in full accordance with Dharma, since, in addition to Lord Shiva's blessing, the 5 Pandava brothers also shared one soul. They were all incarnations of Lord Indra. This settled Kunti, and they discussed how they would break the news to King Draupadi. However, all that they had discussed inside the house would make its way to King Draupadi quicker than they imagined. Hiding outside the home, Draupadi's son Drishtadyumna had overheard everything. Chapter 20. The Divided Kingdom. The news of the Pandavas being alive made its way to Hastinapur rapidly. Now that the Pandava brothers were united with King Draupadi's family, they had the protection of the kingdom of Panchala. This disturbed King Dhritarashtra and his son Duryodhana. Now that Yudhishthira was an adult, by rights the throne of Hastinapur should pass to him. He was the eldest son of King Pandu, and Dhritarashtra served only as the caretaker king. The fact that the failed assassination of the Pandava family was a plot by Duryodhana was now an open secret. In council with Karna, they discussed a possible attack on Panchala, to take the kingdom and slay the Pandavas. But to wage open war, they would need the blessing of grandfather Bhishma and Prime Minister Vidura. Bhishma and Vidura quickly dismissed the ridiculous idea. By rights, the throne should pass to Yudhishthira, but to keep peace, they proposed a division in the kingdom. Half that would be ruled by Yudhishthira, and the other half by Duryodhana. Dhritarashtra grudgingly agreed, and the region of Kandaprashtra was granted to Yudhishthira. The Pandavas agreed to the terms, and Yudhishthira began his reign in the region. Yudhishthira was the symbol of justice, truth, and moral duty. The region under his kingship quickly became prosperous, and they built a new capital called Indraprashtra. One day, the Pandavas were visited by sage Narada. The sage warned them the situation with Draupadi as their common wife could lead to division between the brothers, which would be the greatest threat to the kingdom. In consultation with the sage, Draupadi and her husbands came to an agreement that if any of the other brothers entered the chambers of Draupadi while she was with another brother, the offending brother would need to spend 12 years in exile. One day, a priest came to Arjun begging for assistance. Robbers were taking his cattle. To capture them and recover the farmer's belongings, Arjun would have to act fast. However, his weapons happened to be in Draupadi's chamber. It was Arjun's duty to act as protector to the people, and without a second thought, he entered the chamber and retrieved his weapons. Draupadi was with Yudhishthira at the time. Arjun made short work of the thieves, but he would now have to face the consequences of his action.
Thank you for watching so far. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please hit the like button. If you're new here, please subscribe. This will ensure that more people can find this resource. Click the notification button so that you can be the first to know about new uploads. And please do comment below. I'll do my best to reply to any questions. Thank you.